Hello, how you doing? Please forgive my winter hat. Winter came back today, and I'm cold. So here's my strategy. There's a ton of stuff out there, but how do we narrow down to the things that support what you want to say? So I'm going to give you a couple of strategies. Strategy number one, this is all de-identified, but I took the words from your email and I Googled them. And you get like an AI, you get report to the UN, you get non-government organizations, you get statements. Ooh, and this is where you gather keywords. So I was looking for like populations and Latino or Hispanic. And it's gender specific too. Racial disparity, you get all sorts of sorry, I'm writing keywords. I'll tell you what I'm doing as we go. So keep notes on the side. Maybe you write it down on a piece of paper, but as you go through the open web, you're not necessarily looking for sources, but you're looking about people who are talking about the issues, what matters, what populations are affected, what particular contexts and outcomes, maybe interventions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of stuff going on the open web where you can write down keywords, but for the scholarly articles that are evidence-based, essentially primary resources where they go out and gather quantitative and qualitative evidence of the impacts of these disparities. How do we find those? So there's a couple that I wanted to show you. First one is just the database of the main library in just kind of to start out with, but then I'll show you a criminal justice and sociology database too. I might have shown these to you in class, but class went quick. So one thing is we've got the issues. So I looked up and it was like longer sentencing, heavier sentencing, bias in sentencing, et cetera, et cetera. But we also have the context of criminal court. So for criminal court system in particular, that might be the one that narrows it down the most. Let me show you how I do that. Spelling counts. So I could do criminal court or criminal courts, but if you do a star, it'll get both of them. So the quotes hold criminal and court together as a keyword as it's searching through millions of articles. The star means it'll get court, courts, probably courting, I suppose. And let's narrow it down to things that it's in the title. So it's like the most important thing. So we're looking across all the disciplines and we're just testing out keywords at this point. 33,000. That's all right. So peer-reviewed journals. So there's 3,000. That's a good body of evidence that we can work with. Let's go back and let's add a population. So I'm going to cut and paste this. I'll send you all the keywords. But what we do, so we're looking for population or maybe the values and keywords tied to the population in this context. So like racism, discrimination, kind of infer to Black, Latino, Hispanic, or minorities, ethnic minorities, language minorities, all sorts of different things. So what I do is I don't know if it's going to be minority or minorities. So you already learned the trick, you could do the star. But every time I put an or in, it's looking for everything else. So it's going to do criminal courts and minority, and then it's going to look for that, and then it's going to look for that, and then it's going to look for that. So we should get a nice big pile. But it will be less than the 3,000 we were looking for. And should I do that in the title too? I always hesitate. Are we going to get too few? Yeah, 118. There's only 22 peer-reviewed journals. So here we already have like what you were talking about. It's pretty focused. So if you can do scholarly books or things like that, but if we do to peer-reviewed journals, that only gives us 22. And this might not be even talking about the sentencing or pretrial detention or trial penalties. So this might be one way to look at it, but let's back out and say it's okay to show up in any field. And I'm going to do criminal courts in any field. And then I want to add the issue at hand. So what happens, what is evidence for this being a problem? So this is where I do like longer sentencing, heavier sentencing, all of those different words. So instead of focusing just on the criminal courts, I want to look at all three of these together. So I backed out to any field, if that makes sense. Oh, that's all right. Ooh, there's only 6 peer-reviewed journals. Okay, is this too focused? So it could be that what you have to do is if there's only these few, you could look through these, but you might have to get rid of the sentencing as a keyword. So it might be, so we were looking at, oh, so you were looking at sentencing though. I want to have it be a big enough body of things to look at. Oh, so when we just changed it to sentencing, all of a sudden there's more peer-reviewed journals. It's a mystery. Okay, that might be what you need to do. But is criminal court the right term? Maybe you need a different environment. So I will send you this, but let's try this in a criminal justice database. So if you go to databases, handily they're all under the letter C, and you just type in crime. There's a couple. Lovely that they're both stuck together. Criminology, let's try that one first. I would recommend trying both of them. There's probably a lot of overlap. Go to advanced search, add a row, and let's just do the same thing. Criminal court, sentencing, okay, now we're only in criminal justice journals. We're not looking at anything but. And if we go to scholarly journals, ooh, so this was better than the library catalog. You take, oh, it is taking me there. Very slowly. Some databases aren't indexed in that main library search, but I like using it because it's good for checking out keywords to see if they work. So on this one, what is going on? Okay, let's come up to the past 4 or 5 years. This is so slow. I need one of those YouTube editors where it like cuts out the middle. You can skip ahead 15 seconds every time I do a search. Ooh, okay. One last thing. So we wanted sentencing to be the most important thing, right? Let's look for that in the document title. So all of these other things matter, but sentencing is the most important. So if we narrow down to just the title, yeah. Oh, there was another keyword that you had that I really liked. Oh, this goes back in time. There was another keyword that I really, really liked. So that one's really good. But let's add one and have I don't know if decision making is a word. But it's like, how do judges make a choice? How do the courts make a choice? Ooh, do I dare? Blended sentencing, that sounds wonderful. Do I dare put this in the abstract? So all of these state-centered sentencing, agentic sentencing, some of these sound like interventions. So like the decision making, in the court system, decision making is a social construction of authority, right? So like there's rhetoric and like the decision making, it's like it's a complex web. So you might want to look for everything on the one side, but then let's go back to criminal court and sentencing. And let's say that we were looking for like decision making. So you might have to separate that one. Oh, I'm not going to put that in the title. Oh, there's only 4. So the decision-making analysis is something that's just coming along right now through the lens of things like socio-materiality and things that are just kind of like on the cusp of happening. So I would recommend, if you're interested in the decision-making, look at that separate. Or you could even do judges and decision-making. And you might find a little bit more. Yeah, there's 25. So the decision-making is something that's just coming on pretty recently, because it used to be judges where it was kind of like, it was a relief that we got it over with, but now we're just kind of like, okay, let's take time to figure out how they came to this decision. Okay. Let me know how it goes. By the way, all of these have citation generators right here and right. It's not letting me go in. The citation generators are almost always wrong, but at least you have them as like a starting point. Okay.